In this video, we're going to be talking about the distributive property, and it's actually a pretty simple property, and we're going to be combining that with like terms, which is what we've been talking about in class. So let's talk about what the distributive property is. The distributive property is I have a letter, I have something on the outside of parentheses, and I have two things on the inside, right? And what ends up happening is I multiply whatever's on the outside to what's on the inside. Okay, so let's get into some examples so this makes a little bit more sense. So right here in number 1, I have 5 on the outside and I have 7n minus 10 on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this 5 times 7n, and that's going to give me 35n. And then I'm going to multiply this 5 times negative 10, and you get negative 50. Okay? And that's the distributive property. That's simple. Okay? Let's do number 2. Let's do one. Oh, we got some negatives right here. Oh, also, for me, even though your answer key might show different, I want your term with your variable first. So, for example, look up here. Let's say I want my number with my variable, and then just my variable at the back. So similar to how I did number 1. Let's look at number 2. I got to do negative 8 times 10. That's going to give me negative 80. And then I got to do, now if there's no number in front of that variable, we can assume that there's a 1 there. And so negative 8 times 1b is negative 8, because negative 8 times 1 is negative 8, and then the b just comes for a ride. But I'm not a big fan of it written this way. I want my variable in the front. So I'm going to switch places. I'm going to put negative 8b in the front, and then the negative 80 in the back. So all they did was switch places. Okay? All right, let's keep moving. See, the distributive property isn't that bad. As a matter of fact, right now, I want you to pause this, and I want you to give this one a shot and tell me what you think. Go ahead and pause it now. All right, now that you've paused it, let's see what you got and see if you got it right. So you should have done 9 times negative 6p, and you should have got negative 56p. Not negative 56, I'm sorry, negative 54p. Whoopsie. And then you should have did 9 times negative 3, and you should have got negative 27. My variable is in front, my constant is in the back. I'm done with this question. Let's go ahead and go to number 4. Ooh, now, if there is a negative in the front, but there's no number there, that's equivalent of saying that there's a negative 1 in the front. So I can rewrite this as negative 1 times 10m minus 2. If there's a negative there, you just can't ignore it. You have to distribute it to each thing. So now I'm going to do negative 1 times 10m. That's going to be negative 10m. And then I got to do negative 1 times negative 2. And if you know your integers well, negative 1 times negative 2 is a positive 2. And that is your final answer there. Okay? So the first 4 of this video is just the distributive property. Now, in the next 4 questions, we're going to be doing the distributive property with combining like terms. So after we're done, we got to combine some like terms. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. All right, so what is outside the parentheses? What's outside the parentheses is this negative 10. So that has to be distributed to everything, because remember that negative goes with the number, all right? So we're going to do negative 10 times 6 is negative 60. And then I'm going to do negative 10 times negative 8 is a positive 80n. And then I have this negative 5n just hanging out in the front. Now we need to combine our like terms. I'm going to go ahead and do some coloring a little bit. I'm going to color my n's one color. And I'm going to color my constant a different color. And now we're going to combine like terms. This negative 5n plus 80n, that's going to leave me with 75n, because 80 minus 5 is 75. And then negative 60 is the only constant. And so this 75 came from the yellow, and that negative 60 was from the blue. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do number 6. Again, we have a number in the front, but this time it's a negative 5. So we got to distribute this negative 5 to everything inside the parentheses. So negative 5 times 8m is negative 40m. And then this negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. And then I have this negative 5 still hanging out in the front. I got to figure out which are my like terms. So let me see. My number with a m, let's do this one. Let's do this one pink. Does anything else have an m? No. So let's go ahead and do all the constants in this color. Now that everything is color-coded, let's go ahead and combine like terms. Well, since negative 40m is the only thing that is there, we're going to go negative 40m. And then negative 5 plus 25 is a positive 20. And this negative 40 down here came from the pink right above. And then that 20 came from, I hope I use this right color. Let me see, I think I used this one. Yep, so this 20 came from the combination of negative 5 and positive 25. All right, now, what I want you to do is I want you to pause it right now and try this one and see what you get. Go ahead and pause it now. Okay, now that you've had the opportunity to try this one, let's see if you got it right. So let's say, now this one's a little bit easier. 9 times a, well, there's no number in front of that a. Well, technically there is. There is a 1. So 9 times 1a is 9a. And then this 9 times 7 is 63. And then, does this 9 distribute to this? No. And that reason is because you don't distribute to anything that's not in the parentheses. As a matter of fact, let's make that a rule right now. Write this rule down. Do not distribute to anything not in a parenthesis. That 3a is not in the parentheses, so that just kind of comes along for the ride. Okay? So that minus 3a is going to go here. So let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So I'm going to go 9a here, and there's another set of a's. Remember, don't forget to include that sign. And then I'm going to go ahead and do 63 in blue. Now I'm going to combine my colors. So my 9a minus my 3a is going to be 6a. And then since there's nothing to combine with this positive 63, I'm going to add 63 here. And then my 9a, then remember we did that. That came from So the 6a came from the combination of 9a minus 3a. And the positive 63 came from the 63 just came down. There was nothing to add to it. And then number 8, I'm going to actually add, although this isn't the original question, I'm going to add something to it. Let's say I added, or let's not add, let's do subtract. Minus 8 plus 2n. So this question is going to say 5n plus 9 parentheses n plus 7 minus 8 plus 2n. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this one and see what happens. Then I'm going to actually write one more so that you guys can get some more practice. All right, so anytime you see parentheses, go ahead and distribute and get that out of the way. So this 9n, so 9 times n, remember that n has a 1. That's 9n. And then this 9 times 7 is 63. Students always forget, not all students, but some students always forget to distribute to both terms. For some reason, sometimes students will distribute the first term and get the 9 in and then not do the 63. Now that my distribution is done, I can add, oh, that's a lot. Now, let's go ahead and color code all of our stuff. So let's color code all of our n's in purple. So we got 5n plus 9n plus 2n. And then I got the 63 minus 8 here. Now we're going to combine all of our colors. So 5n plus 9n, that's going to be 14n, plus 2 more n's is 16n. And then 63 minus 8 is going to be 55. And then remember that this 16n was a result, this 16n was a result of all of the purple, of adding all the n's together. And then that 55 was a result of 63 minus 8. Okay? Now, I didn't do any on this video, but I'm going to make one more. This is going to be question number, this is going to be number 9. What happens if I have 4x minus 5 minus 6x plus 1? What happens when I have 2 parentheses? And what happens now is, because I have 2 sets of parentheses, I have to distribute twice. So we're going to do that right now. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and distribute. 3 times 4x is 12x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And then on the other side, we got to distribute again. Negative 2 times 6x is negative 12x. And then negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And then let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So I have some x's right there, and I have some x's right there. And then I have a constant here and a constant here. What is 12x minus 12x? Students all the time want to say, okay, 12 minus 12 is 0. We just have one x. That is not right. So let me go ahead and drop this in there. This positive 12x and negative 12x, that actually ends up canceling out. That makes 0. Okay? So if I had 12 x's in a bucket and I took all 12 x's out of the bucket, there are 0 x's left in there. So there's nothing left. So there's nothing to write. So my answer actually is only negative 17, because negative 15 minus 2 is negative 17. Okay, let's go ahead and highlight this. And then let's go ahead and make like a little note off to the side that 12x minus 12x equals 0. Anything minus itself equals 0, or just cancels out. That all means the same thing. Sometimes you hear me say 0. Sometimes you hear me say, oh, it cancels out. That all means the same thing, okay? All right, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, see me in class. Have a good one.